Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Jesse. I am the author and designer of this game, The Legends of the Hidden Ones TTRPG. And today we'll be going over character attributes, building stats, and the character sheet that one of my players actually helped me put together. I should probably ask him if I can throw his name in here, because huge thank you to him. So this is your basic character sheet, as you can see behind me. I'm pretty sure my head's in the way, but you should be able to get a fairly standard look at it. So starting off, you have your character's name. In the top left, you have your character's name, you have the player name, you have their class, you have their element, you have their level. Update this whenever you level up, because that allows you to see how many upgrade points you have. And then you have their specialization, which we'll talk about under when we go over actual specializations and things like that. If you put an image in this cell right here, you will create, it'll populate it and put a nice little picture of your character right there for you. And then you have your basic attributes. So a character has moves. This game is based on an AP system, an action point system. So each move you have corresponds to an action you can take in combat. If you have 4 moves, you can take 4 actions in combat in any order you want. There are some limitations we'll go over in the rules, but if you want to dash, then put all your moves into moving. If you want to half dash, run, half dash, attack, and then cast a spell, 2 moves to run, 1 move to attack, 1 move to cast a spell. It's that simple. Focus is your character's ability to concentrate. There is no intelligence or wisdom stat in this game. I leave that up to you at character creation. But your focus is going to be how well your character can concentrate, and this is their magic stat. It also is small, partially factored into perception, but this stat is factored into your spellcasting roll. You're going to be making 2d6 plus your focus to cast spells. It factors into perception a little tiny bit, which we'll go over under rules, and it also deals with magic resistance. So keep that in mind. Focus is the single most important stat in the game. Accuracy is how good you are with ranged weapons. To make accuracy rolls in game, you roll a d6, add your accuracy stat. So the higher this stat goes, the more powerful you are. And this is statted out to a level 1 character, by the way. Focus with a tool and defense with armor are just factoring in different gearing options that your character can have, but your base stats are always going to be right here. Next up, we have agility. This is how agile your character are, and is one of the few roles in the game. It's probably the one you'll do the most, because anytime you try to do something with your hands other than like a push-up or a pull-up, is going to be an agility roll. Anything dealing with dexterity, anything dealing with stealth, and also dodging magic, dodging hand-to-hand attacks in combat, all is an agility roll, which is going to be a d6 per point of agility. So if you have 3 points of agility, you're rolling 3d6 plus half of your focus stat, as since you're magical, you do get to factor in some of your magic into any physical actions you're doing. Next up, you have your attack stat. This is how many attacks you get in hand-to-hand combat. 1 attack is an extra d6 on your roll, and we'll talk about that under rules, which will probably be the next video I release after this. After that, you have your strength stat, which is how strong your character is. Caps out at 10 because you can only hit so hard. But this affects, as you can see down here, the 2 wound chart down right by my head. You have strength and defense modifiers on here. As you can probably guess, defense is also going to be capped at 10. Well, you can go over, like if your defense with armor is, let's say, a 12, or more likely an 11 with +2 defense armor. Your defense stat would be a 9, and then it would just reduce down to a 10 if your armor actually factors in, which we will talk about when we look at weapons and things like that. So anyway, strength caps out at 10. It affects physical damage you're doing with your hands, how easy it is to do that, and also lifting and things like that. Your defense is how hard it is to penetrate your skin, essentially. Your hardness, not your durability, but your actual hardness. Without armor is right here, and with armor is right here. Next up and finally is wounds. This is how durable you are. This is how many hard hits you can take before you die. If your wounds are reduced to 0, you're dead, which is why I always recommend the first level of a character going into wounds, and then maybe another stat if you want it. If not, just go both into wounds, please. It's so easy to die at the early levels, which is why I also, small tip, start your character at level 3. That way you're not going to one-shot them, DMs. Otherwise, make combats really, really easy for that first level. It's an introductory level at most. But just be careful at level 1. Also, tips for players. Monsters equal to your level will generally be able to do the same number of wounds per turn that you can, so keep the amount of damage and the amount of wounds you can do equivalent, essentially, unless you want to specialize in prey, in which case boost your attack stat to crazy levels and just pray you don't get hit with magic, because as soon as you do, if you have 3 wounds and 8 attack, 1 good magic shot at that level and you're dead. The way the character sheet works is you have upgrade points are from leveling, which we'll go over again under rules. But you just, let's say I want to put a level into defense. It increases my defense here. I have upgraded it, and then I have 7 usable points left. Once I've used all of my usable points, it says 0. That means I am properly leveled up. So if you, let's say, have 9, I've spent too many leveling points. 7, I still have 1 level point left over to be a properly leveled level 5 character. So that's how all of the upgrade points work. Focus with tool will not upgrade, because a focusing tool is essentially a wand, and it's an equipable item. Also, defense with armor will not increase. XP I don't have implemented in the game right now. This is still a developing game, so you may see that come if you follow this long enough. Right now I use milestone leveling. And then dire points are on your character's backstory. There's nowhere on the sheet for a character backstory to be written, so I recommend putting that just on a separate document. On that document you create causes, which are the core things that your character stands for. If you're a loner, then maybe enjoys silence or doesn't speak. Be smart with your causes, because dire points are used to increase a roll by 1. So let's say you roll 2d6 plus 7 and you roll a 6, that's a 13. Let's say you needed a 15. If you have 2 dire points, you spend them, the roll is now a 15. Stories dire points should generally be received at a level of like 3 to 4 per session. That is a nice rate at accruing. I generally limit my players to 3 causes, 3 to 4. Causes can change as characters grow. If your character, starts off timid and so they're shy, which doesn't mean they don't interact players. It just means that they might not be as open. So when someone says hi, that doesn't mean they ignore them and hide in a corner. That just means they say, hi. I don't really feel good right now, instead of completely cutting off contact. Just a little tip for players. Always try to make sure you can interact with your story's world as a story. This is something that I do enjoy. But also know that there are different interpretations of different attributes, and if you want a character to have a certain attribute, you can play it in a way that's still fun, but keeps to the core of actually what that attribute is. So try to make sure your causes are still going to be fun for everyone. I recommend 1 cause for fighting, so protector, all-out offense, something like that. 1 cause for personal interaction, whether that be kind, generous, something like that, where one-on-one you're a kind person, you're a generous person. And then group interactions, so shy, bold, things like that. And then you gain dire points from those causes. Write them down on your character sheet. Next, you have your inventory, which is right here. You can put all of your gear in this inventory slot. Armor goes in here, so you write the name of your armor, write what kind of armor it is, your shield, whatever. And then its defense bonus. So let's say I have mail. That gives me, in this game, a +1 to defense. You hit enter. It doesn't matter if you put the plus because my player is awesome, or Google Sheets is awesome. I'm not sure exactly which it is, but I like to think it's my player. It adds 1 to your total defense bonus and then puts it under your defense with armor. So that is a good thing. Next up, you have your weapon chart down here. You do not need to fill out all of these boxes. You have your weapon's name. If it's ranged, accuracy, strength, number of targets ranged. If not, just put like sword in the box. And if you want to put a special tag on anything, you simply right click, hit insert note, blah blah. That's all. Blah blah. Hit enter, and then just click off, and it has that. And then you hover over it. Your notes right there. Then you have finally your 2 wound chart with strength versus defense. We'll go over how to use that when we talk about the rules next episode. Next tab under here, you have spells and abilities. Spell name goes here. The focus DC goes here. How much damage it does, this goes under here. Hit power, hit points, whatever. The number of targets it has and its range. Battle summons are special spells we'll go over when we talk about elemental abilities, so don't worry about that. But just know there's an area for that. And then your abilities. Passive abilities are abilities that are always on. Specialization abilities, class learnables, and general learnables, which don't worry, we'll get to. And then these are activated abilities, abilities that you actually call out that are active. And those all go right here under learnable increases. So if your ability scores or your attributes are ever increased via a ability or a proficiency, that goes under learnable increases so that it doesn't look like you have leveled your character when you indeed have not. The final page under the character sheet and in character creation is your fighting proficiencies. Currently there are 5 in this game. There's 1 weapon that is going to be either single-handing or two-handing a weapon. There is ranged, which is all things ranged. Pistols and shotguns can be dual-wielded, and that is covered under the range proficiencies. Unarmed, this is where you do not gain a stat bonus from your weapon. So brass knuckles do count here, but note that you cannot, at its base, be unarmed and gain a benefit from your weapon. Once you get to higher levels, if you want to, stories, this one's up to you. If you want to like imbue fists with powers because that's really cool, magic punch, you can give them like brass knuckles that imbue something, or a gem that they hold in their hand and gives them super punch, whatever you want. That is completely up to you. There is shield, so this is going to be sword, axe, spear, dagger with a shield. I should probably add guns on there at some point, but I haven't implemented that yet, so we'll see. And then dual wielding. Each of them has a tree that the penalties we'll go over when we go over the rules, but just note that you can check the box and it's considered as having that level of proficiency. As you can see, there are notes, and this is an additional thing that you gain per level of efficiency. So trip, if you are, let's say, proficient with a spear, you gain the ability, you gain +1 agility and the ability to trip opponents with your spear as they attempt to run past you. And then any attribute increases are put under the learnable increases because proficiencies are learnables in this game. With that, that's all on the character sheet. Next episode we will, next video we will go over the rules, and then after that we'll get into the fun stuff of elements and classes. So I will see you all then.